Okay, I think I'm live. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode where everything's made up and the points don't matter. Thanks for joining. If you're new, I wanted to reintroduce the project that I've been working on these past few streams. In case you're just tagging along, I've learned a lot along the way already, and hopefully you guys have too. So what this first stream series has been about is I'm trying to recreate the MySpace top 8 sort of section that used to be in MySpace that you would put on your GitHub profile, wherever you want. My thought for this is to make it a GitHub Action so that it can just automatically be updated when you check in code and things like that. So where we left off last time was, let me come here. Also, if the code's too big or too small, just let me know in the chat and I can make it bigger or smaller. I'm still getting used to huge code, like I said last time. So just let me know. Anyway, so what we can do now is I can find the start and end of this my top 8 section. And maybe I should rename this project. Right now it's just called My Top 8, but maybe it should be called GitHub Top 8 or something like that. I may have to rethink what this project's actually called before I turn it into an action. So I can find the start and end of the section. I can now piece together these strings so that if new like HTML or whatever code needs to be generated to re-render your new top 8 section, if you shuffle people around or something, I can correctly piece that together, and eventually we'll write that to the README, push it up to your GitHub repo. And I think the checkout action that you would call before this. So let me show you an example. Let me come in here. If I come into GitHub workflows, my blog post, for example, I use this checkout action. And that, so in this case, I'm firing up an Ubuntu container. GitHub is loading the container for me. I'm checking out the repository that this action exists in, obviously, and then running, another action. I think this checkout action has obviously at the beginning when it's called, it checks out your repository, but then at the end, it may already do the checking in for me, like pushing back up to the repo if I've changed any of the code in this local repository. I'm not sure. So I may not even have to worry about having like a template, like git commit message. And like in my other workflow, I actually am adding my own name and email and everything so that my commit messages look nice. In this script, I'm doing that. But I think checkout may do that for me. I'm not sure. We'll get to that when we get there, but just some things to keep track of. So what I can do now is piece together the code. And a good place to start this stream is, so right here, I can figure out what code comes before the section. What is the code that's going to render this top 8 section on our profile, and paste the whatever code comes after. And last time I wrestled with, what if the top 8 section is at the end? How do we calculate that and basically paste nothing at the end? Eventually, I'll have to do that for, what if it's the first line of your profile README? What if it comes first? Then the pre-section content is actually going to be empty. So I'll have to write that eventually. I don't want to write that right now. What I think would be a good thing to do during this stream is to figure out how I'm going to render this section in the first place. We're going to use HTML. or make a table in Markdown, or what code am I going to create to plug in here given a list of 8 names? So let's jump right into it. We'll call this function here. So obviously whatever we're going to mess with needs to be written up here in this function. This is all we care about right now. So what I would have to give this function is the bare minimum is the list of 8 people, right? So parameter, I don't know if this should be the path to the file, the text file that will have your top 8 people. So there's a couple ways you could do this in the action. If I pull that back up, let me go to the blog action. So this blog action, just like PowerShell, can take in a parameter, and it has a ton of custom things. Don't render more than 5 posts. It's just other parameters and values that have defaults. But the only mandatory one is the feed list. And I'm just saying I'm okay with the rest of the defaults. So my action can either take in a GitHub path to the README, or I could just say user list and then literally just list the 8 users inside the action. Because either way, this action is a file in source control. So if in the repository. So if you were going to change it, whether it's a text file or right here in the action itself, that's in source control. So I don't think it matters. And that might be easier if I just have someone provide the 8 names here and the order that they come in. Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how exactly these action YAML files read and stuff. So I guess for now, I'll just give it a file, and then PowerShell will, like we do with the content of the README file, we just get content that file. So I'm going to add, I guess I would have to rename this. No. I'm going to actually just copy this. I'm going to call it users path. And I need to change some of this here. Path can stay the same. Users path. This will just be a file path. And it is mandatory in this case. So in my case, I'm going to have to create a text file, and it would be inside my profile. So I would have to come here and I would say, let's put it inside of GitHub, because I've got scripts here, workflows. I would say maybe here just new item. My top 8 users.text. And here, let's put just some users. Oh, here's a good opportunity to bless some of the people that follow me real quick. I'll just make up the rest. I've got 3 followers on GitHub. I'm famous. Okay, let me move this up here. Okay, so I'll put Edward here, Packers King, and for the rest of these, I'll just copy myself. So that's 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so I have a list of 8 users. And so if I read this in, I want the 1 user in this list. It'll pull that. So it's already itemized. Now I just have to figure out the code we're going to generate, how to make it into a table. And then for each, cell or item in this table, you generate links and everything for this user. Plug it into the GitHub profile path, use it to grab their GitHub picture, place their username under the picture, things like that. Make that a hyperlink in HTML. So we've got this list. I'm going to say, I'll just provide this when I call this. So right now, this script is just outputting these messages. They're the same or they're not the same. I may want to hide this for now so that I can play with what my script is going to output. Because now assembled profile matters. Now I need to actually test what code I'm generating here. So I think this is a good time to customize my start and end section headings, I guess you'd call them, so that I can create these headings in my README and make sure that that I'm reading those correctly. So let's go with my top 8 list start. Cool. That sounds good. Instead of blog post, my top 8 list end. Perfect. Now all I have to do is actually add this to my actual README. And this is a just a clone of my actual profile of README. So this is all local. I can totally mess with this. So now I'm looking for these. When I do all these maths and things, I want to output assembled profile, and I want to output profile content string, just to see and make sure that I'm still reading in. Oh man. Let's go back. Okay, here we go. Start my top 8. There's the path to the README. And now I have a user. Oh, I didn't save that. Is there something wrong with these parameters? User's path. It's the same parameter set name. PS path, user's path. I changed this. Didn't I save that? I will get rid of. It conflicts with the parameter alias of the same name. I don't need an alias here. And I don't need an alias here. Oops. There we go. Okay. Who cares about aliases? So the path to that text file that of users I just read in was in Matthew, in GitHub, my top 8. Okay. I'm not actually doing anything with those users yet, but at least the script doesn't blow up when I run this. So, yep, I have a new section here. I guess I want to make sure that. Let me just write out the start index to make sure my start index has actually changed. No, start index. I did put that in there exactly like that, right? All right, let me make this bigger. Okay. Yeah, it should be the exact same. Get content. README. Pattern. Let me paste this in here. Yeah, okay, it found it. So why didn't it output anything when I ran this? That's what's weird to me. Let's make sure these are the exact same. Maybe I didn't save. Okay, I actually don't think I saved the file, so that makes sense. Okay, so this is telling me that on the 7th line is the start. Yep. So it shows me 6 because that's the array index from 0 to 6. But it, you know, file line numbers is 1 to 7. Cool. So that's working. We customized this for our top 8. Now we need to have this generate something, right? If I come up here, this is really pasting twice. So here's, hi, I'm Matthew, blah, blah, blah. And this is everything before, not including the section heading. And this is everything after, not including the section heading. And we're not actually pasting anything in. So it basically just clears out that code, the start and end sections. So we need to plug something in there. And that's what we're going to work on now. Now we're basically set up to do that and test. I don't think I need that anymore. So for this, we're going to pass this same parameter. There's a lot of extra fluff in here, but that's okay. Format this right. This all needs to be one more. And this goes 1, 2, 3 up, whatever. Let's just leave it there. Cool. So I pass that user's path along here, which means here I need to add it. User's path is the user's path we provide to this top level function, the start my top 8 monitor. We're just forwarding that along to this smaller helper function that also needs the user's path. Okay, so at this point, I need to look into the actual HTML. All this has to do is spit back out HTML given these users. I'm going to use a string builder for this. Output, what would I call this? Output my top 8 equals, and then I can do a system, I think it's just text string builder. Okay, so a string builder is an object that lets you edit more easily strings without it actually being in a file. So this is a class that I'm calling, and on this class I can like append to the end, add strings to it, or add a string to a new line, even though I don't have a file yet. So this lets me build that string, you know, one line at a time basically. And then I output that. That's a string that spans multiple lines, and I just have to output that, you know, mash it into one string that happens to span multiple lines, and that gets plugged in right here. So, oh, here we go. With your current project being the My Top 8, what do you see the next streaming project being? So I have a few things right now that they're just kind of personal projects that I am working on. If we come into GitHub, let me move this to just public. So I've got a few things that I work on. So I've got my admin toolkit, PowerShell module, and my help desk module. Those could just generically use work anyway. But a few of my new ones has been this dot files folder. I see other GitHub people use a repository called dot files, and they keep all their configuration for all their different tools in here. And then if they get a new computer or something, they just have to clone this repository and poof, all their .NET profile stuff, a bunch of other configuration is just laid out for them. So I sort of copied that format, but I'm only using it for my PowerShell stuff. So currently what this is doing right now is, let's say I get a brand new computer. I have so many modules and things, I just hate keeping track of that stuff. I want to clone this repository, run this install, and poof, everything is set up. All my modules, my profile, everything I need. So this will basically, for each of these subfolders in this .config folder, which right now is only PowerShell, but it would be .config, .NET, .config, whatever environments that I have. For each one of those, they're each going to have their own install file. So this is sort of the from on high install file that runs all the install files. But in my current case, I've only got one. And so this is my install and set up all my PowerShell stuff. So if there isn't a PowerShell profile, make one. What's some other stuff? I've got my PowerShell theme comes from Oh My Posh, and I've got that customized a little bit. So this code is basically what makes up my prompt here, like my username, the path, and some Git information. That's comes from this. So I can get a new computer, run this install, and just everything is magical. All my fonts are installed that this prompt needs. It'll clone all these GitHub repositories that I'm always going to use. See, my top 8 is in here, so I can just run this install. I've got all the code for all the projects I'm working on. I'm good. I'm ready to go. So this can use a lot of work. It's just sort of all the basics. And obviously this is very specific to me, but this could be something. I've also got a pull request out in the PowerShell, a PowerShell module called PS Teams, where that module basically can send messages to Microsoft Teams, and you can customize the heck out of sections and insert pictures and buttons and make it a little bit interactive. And it's really cool. But in one of my cases, I used a character that, so the text fields that you give PS Teams, it interprets it as Markdown. And in Markdown, an underscore starts italicizing text. Well, in my case, I needed to escape that underscore. And so I thought, why don't I make a PR to have these text fields on all these PS Teams commands escape Markdown and not be interpreted. And that's a big PR. You have to touch all of the files and everything. So that could be one, just streaming, just me finishing that PR. It's going to take a lot of work, and I just haven't wanted to do it yet. But so I've got some projects, and I think working on things like this are going to give me more ideas. So for now, there's a couple things, in the pocket for me to work on. That's a great question. So I've got content, and right now I'm just focusing on PowerShell, but eventually, I'll start working with Ansible and Docker and just learning more things beyond just PowerShell. But we'll see how that goes. Great question. And a long explanation, sorry. Okay, so I've made my string builder here. So this is just a blank variable with methods that can help me create this long formatted. I think we can do this in HTML. I don't even think I need any CSS. GitHub, if I use CSS, I have to tell the HTML what background colors and things to use. And then I'd have to include themes and, a light theme and a dark theme and stuff. I think if I just make an HTML table, it is going to conform to whatever GitHub theme you're using. So in my case, I have the dark theme. So it's going to have like a darker table background automatically because I'm not imposing any colors onto it. I'm going to let GitHub decide what's the background color. Or if I was doing a light theme, this should have changed right away. I'm not sure why that is not changing, but this would become white, and then the background of my top 8 would be white, and I'm just going to let GitHub handle that. So I'm not going to do any CSS. So normally my go-to HTML editor, because I'm not good at HTML, is just html-online.com, I think. Editor. And this is great. It gives me just a lot of basic stuff over here to start with. I just get rid of this, but I have a lot of tools over here. And just as I create things, it shows me in real time the HTML over here, that made that happen. I want this text here and this text here, and you can see it adding. I love this tool. I've used it. It's simple. I use it for all my HTML stuff. And I think I can get away with creating this 4x2 table. Obviously manually I have to paste in the links here and figure out what that HTML looks like over here and figure out how to duplicate what's going on. So let me get rid of this. And so to start, the top 8 section is going to be 2 rows of 4. So I need a table that is 2x4. And great, I've got a table, border width 100%. I don't want this percentage here. Basically, this says no matter what, this table is going to stretch the whole width possible. I don't want that. I just want it as long as the size of the pictures and the names that are in there, and it'll just automatically shrink to fit whatever. So I'm just going to do myself a favor and get rid of that right now. Border, this just means it's going to border this with 1 pixel. Oh my goodness. Let me put that back. There we go. For now, I need it to span the whole length. But once I've actually got content in here, it'll basically snug right up to it. So first, I remember last time I found out how to link a GitHub photo. So I'm going to insert an image in the source link. I think it's just your repository.png. And it grabs you whatever your current profile photo is. So github.com, matthewjdegarmo.png. Perfect. Look at that. I want this to be much smaller. Oh, and I can customize the width on these. What would be a good size? Let's go with like 145. That way I know it's square. I want this to be centered. Notice how as I'm doing this stuff, it's putting, just on this cell, margin left and right, auto. I guess that means center. Here's the picture. And I want, if someone clicks on this picture, it's going to take them to their profile. So then I will add, github.com. It'll take you right there. And see, it's already added. Here's the source and the link behind the scenes. When you click this photo, it'll take you right there. Great. So I've got the photo. Now I want text. I think I need to hit enter here so it creates a new line. Oops. And this new line is going to be the username. And I want that to be centered. I also want, well, actually, I'm going to want these to be numbered. So 1 space, and I just want to link this name. So you can click the photo or click the username and it will take you to their profile. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Text to display. Perfect. Okay. To help me see this a little better, I'm going to just grab all of this and throw it in just to a new file here. I'm changing the language that VS Code is knowing that this is to HTML. So it does all this fancy syntax highlighting and stuff. And my goal is, HTML is nice because for humans, you can, spread all these out, and I can have this end on the next line and whatever. But for each user, this long formatting for the whole cell, I want that to just be on one line, because who cares once it's in a script. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick. Just backspace all of this so that it's all on one line. And I know it's hard to read, but so I've got, this will be one cell. So let me copy that. Just replace these real quick. And in the last stream, I showed you guys these renderers in VS Code. Oh, I can't do this yet. I have to save this as a file real quick. My top 8 test. HTML.h. I'll let it at the extension HTML. Okay, sweet. So I've got this file saved. Now with my HTML preview extension, I can right-click this file, open preview, and it's going to show me in real time what this HTML looks like. That's not what I want. Well, maybe it's not rendering because these are empty. I want to copy these 4 and also put them here. Well, that didn't work. Let's go back to this. Oh, I didn't copy the whole line. This is the whole line. Okay. Whoops. So I need to overwrite these. I'm pretty sure it's not working. Okay, let me just do it in here real quick, just manual style. This is the start of the whole first row. TD to TD. So I want to copy it right in here. There we go. I must not have been duplicating it correctly inside of VS Code. So let me just do it here. 7, 8. I also want to add a column above this, or a row above this, I should say. And I want these all to be merged. How do I do that? How do I do that in this editor? Merge cells. Perfect. Holy cow. I want this to be centered, and I want this to say my GitHub top 8. So it adds a whole cell up here. It spans 4 cells. And then I want another section of 4 cells, and then another row. So now I'll copy all of this and throw this inside of VS Code. There we go. My top 8. I want this text to also be larger. So I'm gonna make this heading 1. Come over here. Again, if this is hard to see or something, let me know. I know this is getting kind of messy. There we go. So I wrapped this text in just these heading 1 tags. So it made it much bigger. What I want to change now, I don't need this preview for just a sec. Now I can properly make these correctly on one line per cell, basically. Just like that. It's kind of gross. Okay, I think that's all I need. Now that I have these, I'll just copy them and paste over the next two. Perfect, I think that worked. And I will paste over the rest of these as well. There's two more. Let's bring all these back. Okay, let me open this preview again real quick. All right, see, everything is spread out because it has more width to take up. We're still at that width 100%. But now that I've got stuff in here, I don't want this. I basically want it to just automatically discern the width. So see now how it just shrinks up to fit whatever size the pictures are. And so now my table size is dictated by the size of the photos or the length of the username, basically, which is exactly what I want. How does PowerShell implementation directly work with the HTML? Okay, I'll get to that in a sec. So I'm figuring out what HTML I need to create. Then I'm going to figure out what HTML is the same every single time and plug and find out what things change, and then plug a variable in for the things that change. And so what I mean by that is here, it's looking like this is actually pretty close to exactly what I want. So I want a table, top 8, and you have, different people in each one of these. This is the HTML I'm going to generate. I don't think I need a width here either. Hang on. Yeah, I want this to be auto-generated as well. Hang on, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole. One sec. Oh, I could have deleted all these at the same time. Change all occurrences, gone. Save. Cool. See now how that's real snug to these pictures. If the picture size changes, the cells will change. So the PowerShell is going to, like, this line will be the same every single time. And this next HTML and the next HTML. This will be the same with the exception of I need to substitute this for the username of the person calling this. So this eventually I will tell PowerShell this needs to be a variable. Then I need to loop through these one line per username in that list of 8. And so PowerShell is going to make a loop, generate basically this whole line, but swap this for the username. In here, the top username is me, but let's say we're on the next one, Edward. Take this username, and PowerShell is going to know, oh, I'm on, loop number 2. The username I'm talking about is this person. So I need to change it there and over here somewhere. There's the picture and the link to their profile. So if I come over here to the preview, it's going to know I'm on that user, so all this has to change. And so that's the PowerShell. I'm grinding through what HTML is necessary first, and then how can I automate the creation of this? And that's where the PowerShell comes in just a sec. I'm almost done figuring out everything that I need. So another thing to change is all of these are number 1. That's something that needs to change. The next one is going to be number 2 and number 3. So let me go change that quick. I think those are just here, yeah. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me put some more of this stuff in here just so that we really get a good feel for how this is going to look. Sorry, I'm going to shrink this real quick so I don't have to scroll so much. Next one's here. here and here. There we go. And I don't need this yet, but I want to figure out how to put Tom in here. I did a little looking earlier this morning. The original Tom MySpace account no longer has the same picture. It's not active. So I'm trying to figure out a way to grab the Tom photo from a place that will never change. And I found that the MySpace Tom has a Twitter account. Let me pull that up real quick. MySpace Tom, I think, is the username. Yeah, okay, so it's a Twitter account. But same logic. I can come in and grab the Twitter photo. If I open this in a new tab, this is the link to the photo for this profile. So let me plug in this here. And instead of a GitHub profile, it's going to have to be a Twitter profile. Let me go back. So that link will take you to, here it is. When you click the photo, that is Tom's photo, it'll take you to this link. Yeah, and I want to change that here as well to the Twitter link. When you click the text, Tom. And so here we go. So now the MySpace Tom will show up. And I think what I can use this is if someone accidentally provides 7 or 6 names, I'll just fill they have to have 8, and I'll just fill Tom in if someone makes a mistake, just sort of as like a gag. But it helps me with not accidentally overriding their profile with trash code, and it breaks stuff. I want my action to always provide me a section of 8 users. Whether you provide 1 or none, you'll have a full list of Toms for all 8, just as sort of like a safeguard so nothing breaks. That's really cool. Okay, so here's our template. So now in this, let me put these side by side real quick in my code. So here's where I need to generate code. My script is going to need to know what's the username of the person calling this. I don't know if I get that from checkout or from the checkout action or where I can get that from. But for now, I'm just going to provide it as a parameter. GitHub username. And in this case, I'll just have to manually provide that. I'm going to splat this, actually. Get current top 8 section splat. Here we go. I'll explain this. So splatting is a way, instead of providing just a really long parameters back to back to back to back, I can sort of make a little table here. User's path. So I'm saying there's a parameter called user's path, and its value is user's path. I just added another value. It's called GitHub username. Whoops. And that is equal to, in this case, I'll figure out a way to make this more dynamic, but now I can create this and overwrite this with an @ and then the variable name. And in this case, it doesn't seem to be a huge deal because it's just 1 or 2 parameters. But if you've got like the big Azure ones, or you just have like 8 parameters you have to provide, instead of your line being forever long, you can just sort of stack them on top like this, and you see all the parameters right here, and it makes this much, much shorter. I could make the name shorter if I wanted to, but I don't. So that's the name. So now that we're passing the username, I can use it up here. So for each one of these lines, I think I can stack these as well. I know it kind of looks gross. Actually, I want this one here. There. So the first line that I want to input into here is this. So remember, this is now an empty string builder class. So behind the scenes, output I spelled this one wrong. Output my top 8. I think it's append. See, there's all these methods behind the scenes that I get from this class. And the one that I want is append line. And so this is going to say, take all the text inside these parentheses and add it as a new line to this new string builder object, which I'll eventually turn into one big string. And in this case, this is that text. What did I just click? Okay. Output my top 8. Append line. The next line is this. Again, these aren't inside of a PowerShell loop because it's going to be the same every time. I won't start looping until I get to these, and swap out the usernames and whatnot. So I need to put that there. I actually need to wrap this. There we go. I need to wrap it in double quotes, and I'll explain why in a sec. But that means I need to change these to single quotes. Or 4. And everything else is a double quote. The reason I need double quotes is because I'm going to substitute this for a PowerShell variable. Inside of single quotes, PowerShell does not evaluate this at all. There's no hidden meaning. Don't use variables. Just this is literally the text. Literally use a double quote inside of here. It doesn't get translated. If I were to type this parameter in here, notice how it's not highlighting. It's literally going to type $GitHub username. But when I use the double quotes, it says, oh, there's some wiggle room for interpretation. Variable expansion, I think is what it's called. So this is all good, blah, blah, blah. But ooh, I see some PowerShell syntax inside of this string. So it's not going to print this. It's going to substitute it for its variable and print the variable. So sometimes using single or double quotes gets a little tricky. But here, that's what I want. Now we're getting into the table. And this is odd because it's not just a straight up loop of 8. I have these breaks in here to signify it's a new row. So how am I going to do that? I think I will do it like this. Instead of the PowerShell for each loop, I'm actually going to do like the C# syntax. So for I equals 0, I less than I also need here users list equals get content of users path. The path that we supply up top is going to get passed in here. And then inside of this function, that's where I'm saying, okay, pull out those 8 users. And first I need to say if users list is greater than 8, row you need no more than 8, please. Okay, cool. Just an error. If I provide 9 people, you broke it. I guess I could just make my loop only go through 8. And if someone provides 20 users, it's only gonna do the first 8. But for now, I'll just leave this error here. Who cares? I'm going to finish this loop here. So I is less than users list dot count. So it's going to pull 8 people. Yeah, that's what I want. And then I plus. So this means I'm making a variable 0. This is how I'm counting through the loop. So my loop starts at 0. If this is true, go ahead and continue. So I'm saying I has to be less than users.count, which in this case is 8. So in my first loop, I is 0. So 0 is less than 8. Do the loop. And then afterwards, this I++ means make I 1 bigger. So now I equals 1. This gets executed at the very beginning. This gets executed at the end of each cycle, I guess, each instance of the loop. So it starts at 0 one time, and that's the only time this is looked at. So it equals 0, it's less than 8. Do your thing, make it +1. I equals 1. 1 is less than 8, blah, blah, blah. So that's where I'm going to loop through the 8 users, and customize this link, customize, the text and everything later on. The problem is these. I think what I may have to do, this is just going to look so ugly. I'm going to have to comment this a lot. I need to add one extra loop where I can add this line. No, I don't need to do that. I just need to, on the 4th item, add it to the end of that 4th line, like this. That's exactly what I need to do. Okay, so first, before we get there, I'm sort of getting a little ahead of myself on this. Let me copy one of these lines. This is the template. Let me come here. So again, we're going to do this output. My top 8. Call the append line method. Let me wrap that in parentheses. And this is going to take some more cleanup. I need this to interpret variables, so I have to use double quotes. But then I need to go through and replace all the double quotes in here with single quotes, which just takes me a sec. Single quote, single quote. I may add alt text later, but that will just stay empty for now. Leave one. Oops, I deleted the wrong thing. My brain stopped there for a sec. And one more set. Okay. Now this is one big happy string. I need to put in some variables. So what I'm going to do is these need to be the instance of user list at index, whatever index I'm on in the loop. So remember, this is an array of users of in the file. It's listed as get out of here. So this is on line number 1, but it's array item 0. And so my loop starts at I equals 0. So this is an easy way to users list 0. Plug that in everywhere. And with this same code for the next loop, I'm using user 1, which is the next one in the list. So this is an easy way. I just need to basically copy this and replace all the Matthew J. DeGarmos with whatever user I'm on. Here we go. And put the text of the user. Okay, we're good. I need one more step here. because if when I is equal to, well, it's the fourth loop item, but technically it would be equal to 3. Instead of append line, there's a method on here just for append. So whatever line I'm on, add this to the end of the line. Don't make a new line. And so the stuff I need to add is just this extra table separator fluff. And it will only add that after it adds the fourth line. Oh, I equals 3, which is the fourth loop. Add this. But then after that, it's just, then it can successfully go through the next 4. So here we did the first 4, that fluff at the end, and then 4 more. And then I guess I could combine these into one line at the end too. So here's my loop. We're almost done with this. Pen line. There we go. Save that. I doubt this works on the first go, but we'll try it. So I'm outputting assembled profile. An assembled profile. Let me get rid of this. Save, sure. Assembled profile is figuring out what's before my section, generate all this stuff given a text file with users and the username of the person, whose profile this is. And then, spit back out everything that's after. So I should be able to save this, run this as is. You need no more than 8 users. Oh, userslist.count. There we go. Cool. Oh, great. Append line. Of course it does. Test equals system.text string. I want that. Just string builder. Maybe I'm calling the wrong string builder class. Is there a new object system.text? Oh, if I do this. Oh, I'm okay. This will work. I need to create, this actually creates an instance of this class. I'm just saying this is the name of the class, but the name of the class doesn't have the method. The new instance of the class, those methods get thrown in here, and now I have a pen line. Okay. Rookie mistake. What else broke? Null array. Oh, users. Typo. Need an S here. And I'm going to try to head this off here in this stream here in a few minutes. I don't want to go over time too much. So I think if I can get this to output this new section. Ooh, no errors. Oh, one more thing. Okay. Weird quirk. Every time this is adding a line, it outputs some weird specific about what it added. So I need to shut that part up. And the best practice way to do that is set it equal to null. Null equals. And then I'm not actually outputting this as the single string that I promised. This down here, I'm expecting this to be one string of X amount of lines, and then this turns these 3 individual strings into one string. So I basically need to copy this here. Output my top 8 dot toString. This also has a method on it to do that. And so now this function here that we're calling this get current top 8 section, all of these messages are quiet, and then I output the result, all that HTML, as one string. Okay, let's see if this worked. Okay, that did work. Oh, one thing I'm missing. I need to add the section start and end. Yeah, so these, the things that I'm looking for in the first place, they don't get put there unless I put them there. Yeah, good call. So here at the beginning, null, trying to do this quickly. Null equals output my top 8, append line. This is a line item. There we go. Now we'll just copy this at the beginning, do a bunch of magic, and then throw it in there at the end. So this will be end. That way it's there for the next time that, you know, this runs and has to compare and find these sections. Now I will save that. I will run it. And here it is. So I'm actually going to do a copy that to my clipboard. Paste this in here. Open preview. Ha! There it is. So here's my, wow. Here's my profile. So to answer the question from earlier, we had to grind through making the HTML first, figure out where we can duplicate and automate. And you see now how the PowerShell is doing that, the cloning and heavy lifting for me. So I needed to figure out what this was so that I could, this is how you plug it into PowerShell basically. Figure out where I can loop, what's the same every single time. So that sort of answers that. One thing that's missing, that the weird thing is, whoops, everybody's a number 1, which is not what I want. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So one more quick thing to change, and I think we can call this good. The number needs to be I plus 1, because we start at 0, technically in the loop. So the number needs to be 1 greater than that. The last item, so this, the last time this loop runs, this is users list index 7, which is really the 8th line. So I need this to actually show the number 8. So this will expand this to be that number. So let me save this, run that one more time, copy it to my clipboard, paste, and here's the rendered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is so awesome. I think I'm going to call that here. We're going to end this. That was cool. I wonder how this looks on GitHub, actually. Let me open up my GitHub profile, because I can preview this. I can edit this README, paste this in, and just open up the preview changes. So this is what it would look like on my profile. It didn't load the visitor's badge, but I know that already works. Ooh, got a couple more PowerShell downloads during the stream, so that's cool. Okay. My worry is that, I guess this is, so on my actual profile, obviously this rendering is a little wider than it actually shows up here. Like if I make this, because I have this column here on the left. So the section that actually gets shown up, you see these two pictures side by side, that's about as long as anything will go. So that can be my standard for seeing if this table's too big. And it doesn't look like it is. It looks like no matter whose profile, this will just take up, you know, a big section, but it won't ever be too big where, you know, maybe these get thrown on a new line or something like that. We can customize this if these pictures are too big or too small, but we've got all the HTML. We need to add some error checking. What if somebody only provides 6 names? How do we plug Tom back in there? Oh, I forgot to make Tom one of these. Anyway, next time. But this is great. We got a lot done. We have this here. Now there's things to learn about. How do we make this an action? And how is that action auto producing values like? Who's the user that called me in the first place? Like here, I'm manually providing this instance of Matthew J. DeGarmo, but the action itself needs to just figure it out somehow. You know, research for the next stream. But I'm very happy with getting this done. It doesn't look like this centered, but I wonder if it'll center after it's actually committed and rendered on the actual profile. Because this is centered, so I know that it knows how to. But anyway, okay. This is a good spot to stop. Thanks for the questions in the chat. That was great. Again, I love talking to you guys. It's just so much fun. This is really fun. If you want to, make sure you follow me on Twitch so you're notified when I go live. I usually will try to go live and give it a few minutes before I actually do anything. And I tweet when I go live, so that's cool. For more PowerShell stuff, if any of you guys are wanting to continue to learn PowerShell, there is a Twitch channel, PowerShell Live. And this has a whole list of people that also stream PowerShell content. So you can follow this channel as well. I don't think you get notified when this channel is hosting these lists of people when they go live, but you've got a good starting list here of people. You can go follow them individually. That's a great way to support them. So, okay, I'm going to end this here. Thank you so much for tuning in. If I'm not explaining something very well, I'm so open to all feedback. This is new. And I've never taught PowerShell before, so you don't really know something unless you can teach it. So this is me trying to figure out, you know, how well do I actually know this stuff? PowerShell is great. It's very easy to jump into and very easy to start doing things that are so cool. So don't ever get discouraged if you are watching somebody that, you know, the things that they're writing are so above you. You think you'll never understand. Please just like ask them. Any PowerShell person will explain. That's what's so great about this community is there's almost zero toxicity from all of these people. And all these people write their code for free. You can just use it everywhere. I love the PowerShell community. Everyone is so great. Ask me, any of these streamers here, they would love to just answer your questions. I'm confident in that. So again, thank you so much. My schedule so far is I'm going to stream on Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Oh, I'm streaming right now. That's weird. So I've got this countdown here on my Twitch. It will count down to Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central. So I think I'm going to stick with this schedule unless something changes, but hey, at least I have a schedule. So there's that. Yep, I'm going to cut this off here. Thank you guys so much and have a good one.